More than 200 classic sci-fi features are legally free right now. No login, no credit card required. But which hidden gems are actually worth your precious viewing time? Today, I'll count down 15 ultra-rare retro sci-fi films you can stream free on Tubi and YouTube, complete with detailed insights, historical context, and specific reasons. Each title deserves a spot on your watch list. Ready to build a retro watch list in minutes? Let's dive into 15 extraordinary films that deserve to be rescued from obscurity. 1. War of the Satellites, 1958. Roger Corman literally shot this film in 8 days to capitalize on the Sputnik launch and the satellite craze sweeping America in 1958. That breakneck production schedule is visible in every frame, and it's absolutely part of the charm. When an unknown force sends a warning to Earth demanding we stop launching rockets into space, the world's scientists ignore it. Big mistake. The cosmos fights back with mysterious sabotage, possessed astronauts, and escalating disasters. What makes War of the Satellites special is how it captures that precise moment in history when space was still terrifying and unknown. This was before the Apollo program made space travel feel achievable. This is the era when satellites were new, when orbit was alien territory, and when scientists genuinely debated whether we had any right to be up there. Dick Miller delivers snappy B-movie heroics as one of the scientists racing to understand the threat. And Susan Cabot brings surprising emotional weight to a role that could have been purely functional. The film clocks in at a brisk 66 minutes, stuffed with miniatures that wobble charmingly on visible strings, double exposure effects that create genuinely eerie moments, and that late 50s science as savior optimism that feels both dated and strangely touching today. Corman's signature, fast, cheap, and fun energy means the pacing never drags. Every scene drives forward with pulp urgency. If you love The Day the Earth Stood Still, but want something pulpier and less preachy, this scratches exactly that itch. YouTube.com. 2. The Last Man on Earth, 1964. Before Charlton Heston's The Omega Man, and before Will Smith's I Am Legend, there was Vincent Price wandering plague-ruined streets, hammering stakes into vampire corpses by day, and desperately boarding up windows by night. Shot entirely in Rome, standing in for Los Angeles, this is by far the eeriest and most emotionally resonant take on Richard Matheson's classic novel. Director Sidney Salkow and cinematographer Franco Deli Colli create a remarkably effective post-apocalyptic landscape with minimal resources, empty piazzas, desolate streets, and abandoned buildings shot with Italian neorealist influences that make the loneliness palpable. Price's melancholic voiceover gives the entire film a literary, first-person feel that pulls you deep into Robert Morgan's isolated routine, scavenging supplies, burning, bodies, marking another day survived. The monotony of survival becomes its own kind of horror. What really elevates this adaptation is how it leans into the philosophical implications of Matheson's premise. The ending lands like a thesis statement on what monster even means when you're the last remnant of a dead civilization. Price, known for hammy Gothic performances, delivers something much more subdued and human here. You feel his character's loneliness, his slow psychological deterioration, and his desperate need to find meaning in ritual and routine. The film's public domain status has resulted in multiple archival restorations, which means surprisingly good prints are available on YouTube. Look for Film Detective, Cult Cinema Classics, or similar official-style uploads for the best quality. The 4K restoration from 2018 makes a massive difference in appreciating the cinematography. YouTube.com. 3. Devil Girl from Mars, 1954. Picture this: a fog-bound Scottish inn, isolated from the world, a group of disparate travelers seeking shelter. And then she arrives, Naya, emissary from Mars, clad in black leather and backed by a flying saucer that looks like a geometric sculpture. This British curio is both unintentional camp and fascinating conversation piece, and it deserves far more attention than it receives. What makes Devil Girl from Mars genuinely interesting beyond its camp value is how it flips the invading brute trope by putting a domineering alien woman front and center. Released in 1954, the same year as them and other nature fights back films, this arrives with radically different gender politics for its era. Naya isn't here to conquer, she's here to collect human men as breeding stock, because Martian males have been decimated by war. It's pulp science fiction by way of speculative feminist dystopia, even if the filmmakers didn't fully realize what they had. The dialogue is wonderfully arch, delivered by British character actors who treat the material with perfect seriousness. Patricia Laughlin plays Nia with imperious authority. No winking at the camera, no camp delivery, just pure alien superiority. The production design is strikingly stylized for a tiny budget. The saucer's geometric angles, Naya's sleek costume, and the robot servant, Chani, create a cohesive aesthetic that feels more mid-century modern than retro future. The third act delivers charming ray gun theatrics as the humans mount their resistance, complete with practical disintegration effects and the saucer's destructive capabilities finally on display. It's perfect for a group watch where you can riff on the dialogue while simultaneously appreciating the bold design choices and subversive gender politics. YouTube.com. Odyssey 4. First spaceship on Venus, 1960. Known in German as Der Schweigende Stern, the Silent Star, this widescreen Odyssey represents a fascinating glimpse into Eastern Bloc science fiction aesthetics. When scientists decode a mysterious spool discovered in the Tunguska crater, they trace its origin to Venus and mount an international expedition. What they find there becomes a sobering meditation on technology, war, and the responsibility that comes with scientific advancement. Director Kurt Meitzig and cinematographer Joachim Hasler create genuinely striking visuals throughout. The multinational cruise ship design feels both functional and futuristic. The Venusian surface is an eerie nightmare of toxic seas and alien ruins, and the atmospheric matte paintings create a sense of scale that belies the modest budget. This is pre-CGI filmmaking at its most imaginative. Every frame required paint, models, and camera tricks. What separates First Spaceship on Venus from American space operas of the same era is its tone. There's a philosophical patience here, a willingness to let scenes breathe and ideas develop. The voiceover narration provides context and reflection rather than just exposition. When the crew discovers what happened to Venus's civilization, the revelation carries genuine weight. This is Cold War anxiety transmuted into cosmic tragedy, a warning about letting military technology outpace wisdom. The international crew itself is notable, characters from different nations working together, including an African pilot and female mathematician, presented without the tokenism or exoticism that plagued many Western films of the era. It's idealistic in that specifically Eastern Bloc way, humans united by science and purpose rather than divided by politics. YouTube.com. 5. Planet of Dinosaurs, 1977. Planet of Dinosaurs is the film that could. An independent production with virtually no money but enormous ambition, delivering a full-length feature of space survivors battling stop-motion prehistoric beasts. What makes this scrappy production special isn't the acting, which is community theater earnest, or the wardrobe, which screams 1977. It's the ambitious creature animation by Doug Beswick and his team, work that rivals anything from larger budget productions. The story wisely keeps things simple to showcase the dinosaurs. A spaceship crashes on an uncharted planet. Survivors must figure out how to endure, and gradually they realize they're sharing this world with creatures that look suspiciously like Earth's prehistoric fauna. Directors James K. Shea and Don Homewood essentially crafted a lost world survival tale in space, and the beauty is in the execution. The miniature work, particularly the dinosaur models and their animation, displays genuine craft and care. These aren't just rubber suits, they're articulated models animated frame by frame, with weight, personality, and menace. The film's desert and canyon locations, mostly around California, provide surprisingly effective alien landscapes. When a Tyrannosaurus stalks through rocky terrain, or a herd of dinosaurs passes in the distance, the forced perspective and matte work create scale and atmosphere. The film's best sequence, a prolonged T-Rex attack, demonstrates how good practical effects and committed animators can overcome budget limitations through sheer determination. If you grew up on Ray Harryhausen's work, The Valley of Gwangi 1 million years BC, and want to see what independent filmmakers could accomplish with similar techniques, cue this immediately. Several full-length uploads exist on YouTube. Look for the cleanest runtime, approximately 84 minutes, and best picture quality. YouTube.com. 6. Battle Beyond the Sun, 1962. Here's where things get genuinely weird. Roger Corman acquired the rights to a Soviet science fiction film, Nebo Zoviot, or The Sky Calls, stripped out most political references, inserted wild monster footage shot in the US, trimmed dialogue, and released it as Battle Beyond the Sun. The result is one of cult cinema's strangest alternate cuts, and a perfect example of exploitation-era repurposing. The plot concerns rival hemispheres, vaguely standing in for US and USSR, racing to reach Mars, with each side determined to prove their superiority. When disasters strike both missions, the crews must overcome their differences to survive. Corman's additions, particularly a bizarre creature encounter on Mars, jar hilariously against the earnest Soviet original, creating tonal whiplash that feels like a fever dream. The value of Battle Beyond the Sun today is primarily historical and cultural. It's an early example of Corman's repurposing genius. He'd later do similar things with Japanese monster films. A snapshot of Cold War anxiety from both sides, and a fun spot the edit game for film nerds. You can actually see where the Soviet footage ends and the American inserts begin. The film's stock changes, the production design shifts, and suddenly you're watching monsters that look nothing like anything in the previous hour. For students of film history, or anyone interested in how propaganda gets recycled and repackaged, this is fascinating viewing. Plus, the original Soviet footage is actually quite good. Ambitious model work, earnest performances, and genuine vision showing through despite Corman's tinkering. YouTube.com. 7. War of the Robots, 1978. Director Luigi Cozzi, who we'll see again at Noriate in number 12, goes absolutely wild with War of the Robots. A Eurospace opera where the costumes and laser flashes do as much storytelling as the script. This is post-Star Wars Italian exploitation at its most shameless and joyful. Scientists are kidnapped by an alien civilization, their android companions give chase, and everyone ends up in space battles so colorful and kinetic they resemble abstract art. What makes Cozzi's film special, and War of the Robots exemplifies this, is the absolute commitment to spectacle on minimal budgets. The android designs are mirror-finish chrome that catches every light, creating disco ball aesthetics. The ray gun effects are copious and varied, with different colored beams crisscrossing every battle. The production design leans into metallic surfaces, geometric sets, and bold primary colors that pop against the black void of space. The plot is frankly secondary to the experience. Something about alien intelligence, kidnapping, rescue, and galactic conflict unfolds. But you're here for the visuals and energy. The disco-influenced score pulses through every scene, the costumes get progressively more elaborate, and the miniature work delivers enthusiastic space battles with models that wobble charmingly but never break the spell. If you enjoyed Star Crash, Seas Yuskars 12, this is the perfect companion piece. Same era, same anything. Goes bravado, different flavor of space nonsense. Grab popcorn, invite friends who appreciate midnight movie aesthetics, and lean completely into the spectacle. YouTube.com. 8. Star Odyssey, 1979. Cozzi returns, doubling down on thrift store aesthetic and practical ingenuity. In Star Odyssey, Italian Sette Uomini d'Oro nello Spazio, Earth itself is put up for galactic auction, purchased by an alien tyrant and defended by a ragtag team of heroes who must be trained, equipped, and launched into space to save humanity. The plot exists mostly to string together inventive set pieces, playful effects work, and enthusiastic miniature battles. Fans sometimes call it the Italian Star Wars, but that undersells what Star Odyssey actually is, a completely sincere attempt to create space opera with available resources, resulting in something unique and endearingly handmade. The lightsaber equivalents are clearly painted sticks with animation added in post. The robots are costume actors moving with deliberate mechanical precision. The spaceships are models that clearly show their construction, but move through space battles with balletic choreography. What elevates this above mere technical curiosity is the genuine creativity on display. Cozy and his team had to invent solutions to every problem. How do you show space travel, miniatures, and starfield mats? How do you create futuristic weapons? Paint, rotoscoping, and commitment. How do you suggest alien technology, bold design choices, and confident framing? The result is fast-paced, colorful, and sincerely trying to entertain despite obvious limitations. The film also has surprising heart. The training montage where ordinary humans learn to fight alongside androids actually builds character and stakes. When the final battle arrives, you're genuinely invested in this scrappy team defending Earth with whatever tools they can cobble together. YouTube.com. 9. The Night the World Exploded, 1957. Produced by Sam Katzman and directed by Fred F. Sears, two masters of the Columbia B-movie assembly line, The Night the World Exploded delivers exactly what mid-1950s disaster sci-fi promised: ticking clock urgency, scientific investigation, and the fate of humanity hanging in balance. When seismologists discover a new element 111, naturally, that becomes explosive when exposed to air and triggers massive earthquakes, they must race to find a solution before civilization collapses. What makes this worthwhile beyond its period charm is the location shooting at Carlsbad Caverns, which adds genuine texture and production value to the cave exploration sequences. The vast underground chambers, natural rock formations, and eerie lighting create atmosphere that studio sets couldn't match. When the scientists venture underground to investigate the source of the earthquakes, you're watching real spelunking footage intercut with sound stage work, and the contrast actually enhances the sense of descending into unknown danger. The film also exemplifies mid-50s attitudes about science and solutions. Problems are technical, solutions are rational, and the right expertise applied with American can-do spirit will save the day. There's something refreshingly optimistic about watching scientists be the unambiguous heroes, racing against time with slide rules and determination rather than guns and explosions. It's a what if geology dooms us curio that pairs perfectly with number 10, The Day the Sky Exploded. For an apocalypse double feature that explores disaster from Earth and sky respectively. YouTube.com. 10. The Day the Sky Exploded, 1958. Often cited as Italy's first science fiction feature film, The Day the Sky Exploded, Italian La Morte viene dallo spazio, represents a crucial moment in international sci-fi cinema. The premise: an atomic rocket disrupts an asteroid cluster, sending fragments cascading toward Earth, taps directly into late 1950s atomic anxiety and Cold War guilt about humanity's reckless technological ambition. What makes this film essential viewing is Mario Bava's involvement as cinematographer and special effects coordinator. Bava, who would go on to become a master of Italian horror and giallo, brings his painterly eye and technical innovation to the disaster sequences. The meteor swarm approaching Earth is created through ingenious stock footage montage, optical effects, and atmospheric lighting that creates genuine menace. When cities face destruction, Bava's combination of practical miniatures and creative editing delivers impact far beyond the production's modest means. The doomy narration is pure 1950s existential dread, a godlike voice pronouncing judgment on humanity's hubris, while scientists scramble to find salvation through international cooperation. There's a proto-ecological message here too: human activity disrupting natural order, triggering cascading consequences we can't control, requiring global unity to survive. It plays remarkably well today, especially as climate anxiety replaces atomic anxiety. The film is also historically significant for establishing Italy as a player in sci-fi cinema, paving the way for everything from Bava's own Planet of the Vampires to the space operas we've already discussed. YouTube.com. 11. Chopping Mall, 1986. Originally titled Killbots, which is infinitely better, Chopping Mall is the platonic ideal of mid-1980s genre filmmaking: high concept, low budget, maximum efficiency. When four couples decide to party overnight in the furniture store where some of them work, They're unaware that the mall's new security robot prototypes have just gone homicidal. What follows is 76 minutes of inventive kills, synth-heavy atmosphere, and genuinely impressive practical effects. Director Jim Wynorski and screenwriter Steve Mitchell understand exactly what kind of movie they're making and deliver it with craft and energy. The robots, essentially motorized boxes with cameras and weapons, are treated as legitimate threats rather than jokes. Their laser capabilities create spectacular practical squib work and exploding heads. Their tracking systems create suspense as the teens try to evade mechanical hunters that never tire, never stop, never negotiate. The film features Paul Bartel and Mary Warrenoff from Eating Raoul in opening scene cameos that establish the mall setting and provide horror comedy pedigree. The main cast of young actors commit fully to the escalating terror, and the script gives them actual personality traits and relationships before the killing starts. You care about who survives, which elevates it above pure slasher mechanics. The synth score screams 1986 in the best possible way, pulsing through the empty mall corridors and creating electronic menace. The production takes full advantage of its shopping mall location, using storefronts, escalators, and architectural space to create varied environments and sightlines for the robot stalking. YouTube.com. 12. Star Crash, 1979. We've arrived at Luigi Cozzi's masterpiece, the film that defines so bad it's glorious, while simultaneously being far more competent than that phrase suggests. Star Crash is a delirious wall-to-wall spectacle. Miniatures dogfighting through painted backdrops, disco-era color grading, stop-motion robots, Amazon warriors, cave monsters, and a climax involving a giant spaceship shaped like a hand. It's not good in any traditional sense. It's transcendent in the midnight movie sense. The plot nominally concerns Stella Starr, Caroline Munro, and her companion Acton, Marjoe Gortner, being recruited by the Emperor, Christopher Plummer, giving Shakespearean weight to absolutely everything, to find his missing son, David Hasselhoff, and stop Count Zarth Arn's, Joe Spinell, superweapon. But plot is simply the vehicle for Cozzi to stage one spectacular set piece after another. Space battles, gladiatorial combat, cave exploration, robot attacks, planet-destroying weapons, and climactic Starfleet confrontations. What makes Star Crash work, despite, or because of, its shameless Star Wars appropriation, is the complete sincerity and enthusiasm pouring from every frame. Cozzi isn't making a parody or a cash grab. He's making the most ambitious space opera possible with available resources and unfiltered imagination. The production design is gorgeous in its excess. Munro's costumes range from leather bikini to chrome armor. The Imperial forces wear crimson and gold. The villain's lair is all Gothic arches and shadow, and every spaceship glows with internal lighting. The film's cult status is completely deserved. This is essential viewing for anyone who loves practical effects, midnight movies, or the beautiful chaos of 1970s Italian exploitation cinema. On Tubi in many regions, via Shout Factory licensing, it's the ultimate party watch and a time capsule of late 70s Euro sci-fi excess at its most unhinged. TubaTV.com. 13. Strange Invaders, 1983. Strange Invaders is the film that respectfully asks, what if the alien invasion from 1950s sci-fi never left, just occupied one small town and waited? When Professor Charles Bigelow, Paul Lamont, searches for his missing ex-wife, he stumbles into Centerville, Illinois, a town literally frozen in 1958, occupied by aliens who've been here since the Eisenhower era, hiding in plain sight with stolen human faces. Directors Michael Laughlin and screenwriter William Condon achieve something remarkable, a film that's simultaneously affectionate homage and genuinely creepy thriller. The town of Centerville is meticulously crafted to feel like time stopped in the late 1950s. The cars, fashion, architecture, and attitudes all crystallized. When that facade cracks and the aliens reveal themselves, watch for those blank-eyed stares and electric blue disintegration effects. The contrast between nostalgic Americana and body horror threat is genuinely unsettling. Nancy Allen brings grounded skepticism as a magazine journalist investigating similar disappearances, while Louise Fletcher appears as one of the aliens, playing the role with eerie calm that's far more disturbing than any monster makeup. The practical effects by Kevin Yager and Robert Short create memorable alien reveals. The peeling faces, the insectoid true forms glimpsed beneath human disguises, and the electric energy weapons all feel tactile and dangerous. What elevates Strange Invaders is its tonal control. It never winks at the camera or condescends to its 1950s influences. Instead, it understands what made those films work: escalating mystery, ordinary people confronting the impossible, creeping paranoia, and transplants those strengths into a more sophisticated production. The John Addison score balances theremin-tinged throwback with thriller momentum. This is criminally underseen, ideal for viewers who appreciate tonal throwbacks, executed with craft, and genuine love for the source material. It's Invasion of the Body. Snatchers meets American Graffiti, and it absolutely works. TubitV.com. 14. Without Warning, 1980. Years before Dutch and his team faced the predator in Central American jungle, Without Warning delivered a stripped-down version of the same. Premise: an alien hunter using high-tech organic weapons to stalk human prey for sport. The weapons are frisbee-like parasites that latch onto victims and drain their life. The hunter is a hulking presence that moves through the forest like a force of nature. And the human victims are split between disposable teens and veteran actors chewing scenery. Jack Palance and Martin Landau appear as grizzled nemeses who've both encountered the hunter before. Palance as a traumatized veteran obsessed with warning others. Landau as the PTSD-shattered hermit who knows too much. Their scenes together crackle with B-movie intensity, both actors fully committed to elevated exploitation. Meanwhile, the younger cast deals with the immediate threat, avoiding the parasites, surviving encounters with the hunter, and trying to warn authorities who won't believe them. Director Graydon Clark keeps the camera prowling through forest locations, creating genuine suspense from simple but effective stalking sequences. The alien design by Rick Baker's shop is efficiently scary, biomechanical without being derivative, clearly non-human, but grounded enough to work in practical terms. The parasite creatures have disturbing tactile presence. You believe they're alive, aggressive, and dangerous. As a proto-predator film, Without Warning demonstrates that the alien hunter premise works even without massive budget or spectacular effects. The core idea, humans as prey for technologically superior extraterrestrial sport hunter, generates inherent suspense and allows for efficient horror filmmaking. It's a lean, mean campfire shocker that also serves as a missing link in the evolution of a subgenre. TubiTV.com, 15, Screamers, Island of the Fishmen, 1981. Welcome to director Sergio Martino's deliriously entertaining mashup of Island of Dr. Moreau, Jules Verne adventure, and gothic horror. Depending which cut you watch, the film exists in multiple versions with different prologues and gore inserts. You'll experience slightly different entry points, but the core remains consistent. Shipwreck survivors wash up on a mysterious island where a mad doctor, a criminal operation, and fish-human hybrid creatures converge in pulpy, Saturday matinee chaos. Barbara Bosch, fresh from The Spy Who Loved Me, and Richard Johnson navigate the island's mysteries, encountering everything from underwater tombs to amphibian mutations to colonial treasure hunting. The creature suits are charmingly rubbery in that specifically Italian way, clearly actors in foam latex, but designed with enough detail and shot with enough atmospheric lighting to work within the film's heightened reality. When the fishmen lumber from the sea or attack in dark caverns, there's genuine monster movie thrill. Martino, a veteran of giallo and exploitation cinema, brings his considerable craft to the material. The island locations, shot in Louisiana and Mediterranean coasts, provide genuine exotic atmosphere. The underwater sequences add production value and unique action. The Gothic laboratory sets where the Mad Doctor conducts his experiments recall classic Universal horror, while adding Italian Grand Guignol excess. The film's appeal is its complete commitment to pulp adventure momentum. Mysteries compound, revelations arrive on schedule, action sequences interrupt dialogue scenes, and everything builds to explosive confrontation. It's seaside Gothic meets creature feature meets treasure hunt adventure, all filtered through Italian exploitation sensibilities. What's not to love? TubeItV.com. Which title are you pressing play on first? Are you diving immediately into Vincent Price's Lonely Apocalypse, or are you gathering friends for Star Crash's Disco Space Insanity? Should we do a part 2 exploring kaiju classics, Soviet space documentaries, and deeper 1950s cuts? Drop your pick in the comments below, and I'll pin the most requested lineup for the next countdown. If you discover any other hidden gems on these platforms, share them. The retro sci-fi community thrives on discovery and recommendation. These 15 films represent just the tip of the iceberg. There are literally hundreds of similar titles scattered across free platforms, waiting for curious viewers to resurrect them from obscurity. Every view, every share, every conversation helps preserve these time capsules for future generations of genre fans. So grab your popcorn, dim the lights, adjust your expectations for practical effects and miniature work, and prepare to discover why retro sci-fis remains endlessly watchable. Whether you're here for the camp value, the historical significance, the practical effects craftsmanship, or just pure entertainment, these 15 films deliver. The future may be uncertain, but at least the past is free to stream.